Fuck, it fell off, didn't it? Oh. Ow. The Human Torch was denied a back loan. The unique New York. New York. Unique New York. This joke was good in concept. I wasted £4 on this mustache.
Dawn of discussion.
Cool.
Let's get into it.
I also shaved for this. I feel stupid right now.
You probably should just, shave the beard and gone with a real mustache.
I had a real mustache, but I had to make way for this to stick it on.
You got a little
Yeah.
face there.
Well, okay. Fine. Anyway, welcome to Dawn of Discussion. Today, we're talking about something completely unrelated to mustaches.
That was a crap intro.
It was really crap. We didn't even try.
No, not really.
Spider-Man finally got a decent-ish looking game.
Yeah. Tomorrow, right?
Comes out tomorrow when we're filming. Today when we're uploading. That's right. This is recorded 1 day in advance. Yay me.
In other words, it will come out a week later after the game.
Maybe. But in any case, it's out by the time you're watching this.
And this is not a reviewing or anything like that about the game. This is more just a general discussion about comic books and video games, like the Batman Arkham series and all the other Injustice games and things like that.
For instance, because I don't know if you've noticed, but really, really good superhero video games are fairly rare, right? Yeah. There's some decent ones, like I don't know, X-Men Origins Wolverine was pretty decent, better than the film for sure. There was the Incredible Hulk game, which was kind of satisfying. Those were decent and okay, but none of them were exceptional.
There's only been one or two real exceptional ones. Yeah. Maybe three, because Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham Asylum was exceptional. Arkham City was very good. But I think the thing is, Arkham Asylum had that sort of, that taste that left, that freshness to it that left everyone going, oh, this is really exciting for comic book video games.
For sure. And one of the biggest ones as well that people remember, especially when it comes to Spider-Man, people usually remember Spider-Man 2 as probably the very best superhero video game ever made. Mostly because of the web swinging, the way you move about the city, the way that you have to think actively about web swinging other than just pressing a button to shoot a web and release to let go. Or even to an extent sometimes where you press a button and it does everything for you. Yeah. So we kind of want to talk about why we think it's so incredibly difficult to get superhero games right. Films is another day. First and foremost, Spider-Man, I guess, is a good starting off point. Why is it difficult to do a good Spider-Man game?
Yeah. I think there's obviously several things you got to take into account with that sort of stuff, but I think the major thing is when it comes down to sort of the failing of games, and especially with Spider-Man, is with Spider-Man, it feels like in concept it should be really easy to do. You basically look at what they did with Arkham, with the whole sort of and the counter radar above his head. It's like you can do that with Spider-Man, which looks like they've done now.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is the web mechanics. That's his method of transport. Whereas with Batman, there's the grappling hook, there's the gliding, and then in Arkham Knight there was the car, and in Arkham Origins there was the fast traveling with the Batwing. But so he had many methods of transportation. Whereas with Spider-Man, he obviously just gets the one. Therefore, they've got to put a lot of focus into making the web swimming smooth. Otherwise, it's clunky. Because I remember seeing some stuff for a Spider-Man game that came out a few years ago. It was about him, and it was sort of him being turned into Venom, and the player having the option of making him good or evil.
Oh, Web of Shadows.
Yeah, and when I watched the gameplay for that, it looks like the web swinging, and that was a nightmare to control.
It was pretty mediocre.
It looked really fucking not difficult. It just looked like it was a lot harder than it needed to be. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
For Spider-Man.
I mean, for me as well, like, I think one of the biggest mistakes that's been made in the past is obviously, like, as Spider-Man. What I loved about Spider-Man 2, let's start there, is there were a lot of random events, but you didn't have to do them.
Yeah.
Whereas in Amazing Spider-Man 2, you were actually often enough forced to actually save people. And if you didn't, you would actually become more of a menace. It was actually, like in Infamous, basically you had like levels of goodness and level of badness.
Yeah.
For in Amazing Spider-Man 2, if you didn't save people, because you couldn't be bothered, or you're at a mission at the moment, or you're trying to get to a mission and you've been trying after being stopped 5 times just to help a granny get a cat out of the fucking tree or something, you become more of a menace.
Yeah.
And that has negative effects on your gameplay as well. Like, there's actually, like, military drones that come after you if you don't save people. And that's one of the most important things. People who play Spider-Man games, obviously they do want to save
people.
Yeah. But they don't want to feel obligated to do so.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel forced. It should feel natural to the player. Because I think that's the thing, is that if they introduce some sort of mechanic where if there were moments where there were people on the street who needed distress, if it were so smooth, like if it's just a cat in a tree, Spider-Man just sort of, there's like a quick button or something you can press, and then you just swing down, cat's out of the tree, and then you whip it so it's sort of just hanging there in front of the owner.
Yeah.
Something like that, where then it's smooth, you do the right thing, and you just sort of carry on. Because that's often how Spider-Man would work in the movies and in the comic books. He doesn't stop, go, I'll get it. It's like, no, he just goes down, does it, and the cat just happens to be in the person's arms, and just he continues swinging on. And that's sort of how it should feel like in the games. It shouldn't feel like its own little mission. It feel like, oh, there's just a quick thing, like a quick time event.
Basically, that's what I was thinking as well, where you basically like land, and then you press square or something to shoot a web to the tree. If you don't press it on time, you miss or something like that. But even that's actually maybe an interesting thought. Even if you mess up the quick time event, the game just continues. You don't just get stuck there doing the same thing over and over again. Because I feel like the biggest thing with superhero games and films and superheroes in general is they need to keep moving. They need to keep doing stuff, right? They need to get to from point A to point B to fight the bad guy or something like that. They can't be bothered like staying still and trying to say something. And for gameplay as well, like if you're stuck doing the same thing over and over again within a couple of seconds, you get annoyed.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see how this game kind of handles that.
Yeah. Because I think one of the big advantages with the Batman Arkham series compared to everything else was the fact that there were clear factions.
Yes.
There was the Penguin gang, the Two-Face gang, the Joker gang, the Riddler, whatever he's doing, and there was a clear sign that these guys don't have to work together, and you can take your time taking them all down one by one, or you can go for them all, or take out the main ones and then go back for the other ones, and I think that was the sort of really clever side of it. And obviously that was more later into things like Arkham Knight and Arkham Origins, where it was more about the factions. Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. Arkham City, I felt at some points it was a bit forced. Like, oh, here's Penguin, you have to fight him because he has something you need. It's like, okay, I'll do it. And it was cool stuff as well, but at the same time, it feels forced and not part of the story. Whereas in Arkham Asylum, it's good because it was so focused on the Joker.
Yeah.
And if they had continued games like that, where it's a small area, or not small, but smaller compared to usual, like it's Arkham Asylum size, and you have to focus on one of the villains. So if they went from Joker to Two-Face, then from Two-Face to Penguin, and then they could obviously introduce things like Catwoman and so on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were like times in the Arkham games where like it was nice to see characters come in.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is a point that applies to Spider-Man as well, because Spider-Man has this vast rogue gallery as well.
Yeah.
Not unlike Batman's, to be honest. Maybe even vaster.
Not too dissimilar anyway.
So, I mean, that's what they do in a lot of Spider-Man games as well. Like, I think in Spider-Man 2, they pushed... in the original Spider-Man 2, I mean, they kind of pushed Mysterio in there somehow. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do that in the new game as well, where there's like the Sinister Six, but also there's Kraven the Hunter, but also there's that would be really cool to see, because I feel like for the Arkham games, that was really interesting, especially in Arkham City, where there's these characters that no one, most people may have never heard of.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Victor Zsasz was in the first one, but in the second one he was more of a missions character, and then there was Hush.
And there was Hush, yeah, exactly, and there were several others.
So that kind of thing is something that I would love to see more.
Yeah, definitely. Cause and Deadshot as well was in it, and there were several other characters. And I think in some ways there is a slight. It's both a disadvantage and an advantage for Spider-Man, and an advantage disadvantage for Batman. The advantage disadvantage for Batman is he's obviously so focused on the Joker. It's such an easy choice. It's like, oh, him, and everyone's like, they can be satisfied with him as the villain of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Problem is, it can get quite tiring, as it did after a while. It's like the 4 Arkham games. He was the villain in 3, and then the other one, he was still a major villain. You know, while it was all psychological in Arkham Knight, it was still, he's kind of there, and he's just, there obviously to be another antagonist. And it's sort of after a while, it's like, okay, I'm sick and tired of the Joker. Yeah. Can we move on?
And not to forget the fact that he was also there in Origins, even though people thought he wouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's the point. He was the villain in 3 of them. The main villain. He was the villain in Arkham Asylum. He was one half of the villains in Arkham City. It was him and Ra's al Ghul.
Well,
and Doctor Strange was, but he was a lackey for Ra's al Ghul in the end. So it's sort of, I guess Ra's al Ghul and Hugo Strange were two-parter, and the Joker was just another factor into that. So there were 3 villains, I guess. But once again, he was one of the major ones who was heavily focused on, because he was the last one. He was the last one you faced in the end.
That's true.
And also, then in Arkham Origins, obviously, everyone thought it'd be Black Mask, and I thought that was cool. I mean, I thought in the end there could have been probably a more interesting villain, maybe like the Riddler, but I thought Black Mask was definitely a good villain to start with, maybe for Batman's career. And then obviously it turned out to be the Joker, and I was kind of like, okay. But the one good thing I liked about it was the focus as well on Bane in Arkham Origins. For sure. That was a nice twist to sort of just go, okay, it's not just about the Joker. Yeah. And Bane was a real threat at one point.
Tell you what I didn't like though, in Arkham Knight, the Arkham Knight character. I mean, let's be honest, Jason Todd, great character.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe one of the most interesting characters of whom, what was it, like maybe 20 years ago, people thought would be one of the permanently dead characters in comics, one of the few of them.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he isn't, because his story got so interesting with the whole
his resurrection
Red Hood
was
story.
the best thing that happened to him, without a doubt. Because him as Robin, he wasn't that good, and then when he turned into Red Hood, he became a fan favorite.
Yeah,
overnight.
It's like he was supposed to die.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sort of onto the other idea of sort of Spider-Man with his advantages and disadvantages. There's no real one villain. I guess the closest one is Green Goblin. But there's no real one villain who steals the show for Spider-Man like there is for Batman, which is the Joker, which is an advantage in the sense that you can pick anyone, and most people would be happy. But the disadvantage is that means that there isn't one person for fans to gravitate to, or more importantly, people who don't know Spider-Man that well to gravitate to. Because everyone knows the Joker, therefore everyone goes, oh, Batman game, oh, Joker's in it, sure, I'll play it. Spider-Man's like, oh, Spider-Man's in it, and here's like 50 different villains most people never heard of. And they're like, oh. Which obviously is not a great thing. And it is a good thing as well, though, because it means there's always something new and interesting that people expect. And it gives you a lot of leeway to make any of those villains extraordinarily interesting, which it looks like they're doing right now.
Yeah, and I feel like the thing as well is, like, if they actually handle it as the Arkham games, where it's like the less popular villains are like side missions.
Yeah.
That's totally cool. I mean, apparently, like, I've heard that there's like a bunch of characters in there already. Characters that you go like, why are they in this? This is amazing. But also other characters that you can play as.
Yeah,
as it turns out.
Because I remember hearing rumors for a while that they said there would be a couple missions where you could play as Mary Jane, which I thought was an interesting sort of
That's an interesting
idea,
for sure.
If it's on, because I think the thing is at that point it's like, don't make it open world for her and make it only maybe 3 missions max for her. Minimum 1, maybe 2.
But still make them interesting enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing for her, and obviously then you can have a lot of fun with the gameplay mechanics, because obviously then she can't fight these guys.
Yeah.
She has to outsmart them and sneak around. And that sort of leads me into sort of one other thing that I want to talk about at some point is Rocksteady has been leaking rumors for a while that they possibly are going to be doing a Superman game. There's been no gameplay, there's been no evidence, but they've been stating, and there's been heavy rumors suggesting they're working on it. And I think the thing is, it's going to take them not a long time. I mean, it was rumored 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's got another 2-3 years until they really show something. Reason being, Batman, he's not easy to do as a video game, but he's one of the simpler ones. Spider-Man, he's not as simple as Batman, but he's not as complicated as some other people. Superman is the most difficult one to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he is a god, therefore you have to think, okay, his villains, they have to be as strong as him. or they have to be smarter than him and develop traps. Like, obviously, if they developed a Superman game, my method would be Lex Luthor has to be the Riddler character with all these traps and things like that to sort of try and get Superman to think. And then obviously you'd have ones like the Joker would probably be something like Zod or Brainiac, which would be they'd be one of Brainiac would be probably the best one to have as the lead villain because he could build robots that could challenge Superman on the streets.
Yeah.
But you could obviously include other villains, but I think Superman is he is easily the most difficult person to make a video game for.
For sure. I think the most important thing about all of these video games especially is what kind of story do you want to tell? And with Superman that's kind of difficult as well because they need to tell a story that makes sense for him and maybe give a reason as to why he's doing all of this. For instance, like with Batman Arkham Asylum, the reason he was there is because there was a breakout at Arkham Asylum. Starts out simple, turns out to be a big complicated plot. Yeah. No, sorry, he was there to bring Joker in. That's the reason. Joker in, yeah. But like with Superman, how I imagine they might be able to do it is by weakening Superman from the start.
Yeah.
Like, it could inject him with kryptonite or something, which makes him incredibly vulnerable. Make his enemies magic based. Yeah. Magic is one of his.
He's not immune to its effects.
And maybe actually even like put in a fight scene in there between Superman and Shazam. Why not? You know, Shazam can stand up quite easy because of the magic thing. Yeah. Shazam can stand up quite easily to Superman. Wonder Woman as well. Yeah. So that might be something really interesting to see and to play. The biggest problem with another big problem anyway with Superman, I feel, is the gameplay. Like, how do you want to play it? How do you want to get people to realistically or real enough for the game to fly around an open world? Yeah. But not feel kind of weird by the flying mechanic. Or weak. Yeah. Because for me the great joy of the Spider-Man games is that you can swing around, and that's his own way of transportation. Yeah. In Batman Arkham Knight, I absolutely hated the Batmobile. Yeah. Because first of all, you were in the beginning, you were practically forced to use it, pretty much all the time. And second thing is, at the end of the day, it's not very interesting to drive around to places. If I want to do that, I'll play GTA. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I think that's the thing.
There's in GTA, there's cars with guns as well. Yeah. Why did the Batmobile have guns? Yeah. That kind of thing. With Superman, I feel like that's even more difficult because like flying around is so easy. How are you gonna pose a more fun mechanic into that? Yeah. That's the big question with Superman.
Because I think we discussed this beforehand. The main thing is as well that I thought they would possibly have to do is they'd have to make the environment destructible.
Yes,
because the villains he'll have to fight. I mean, there'd be ruins and destruction. Oh yeah, and it'd be kind of interesting to see if some of the ruins were made permanent, and it could have like a public opinion thing. The more ruins, the lower the opinion is of Superman, and people start to distance themselves from him and not trust him as much. That way, sort of, you introduce an interesting mechanic. Are you the kind, and you could introduce to players the idea of, are you the injustice version of Superman, where you will kill because you believe it's what's right, getting them out of the way, or are you the guy who goes, no, if there's a fight, I'm going to take it out of the city and take it somewhere secluded? Because you could introduce a huge forest area just outside of Metropolis where you as the player can decide to take fights if you feel that's what you would want to do.
I mean, I kind of agree to an extent. I feel like it's fine if it stays linear as a like don't kill kind of thing. Yeah. But, if Darkseid shows up, I'd love to just punch him through buildings. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's part of Superman as well. Like, there's no fight ever between Superman and another really, really powerful being where he doesn't punch someone through several buildings.
Or he gets punched through several buildings, which is still fun.
It's still a joy.
It'd be fun.
It's still an absolute joy because obviously, like, playing games is a part of it is like experiencing it all. Yeah. But seeing the way that things are portrayed is also such a beautiful thing.
Because I think for me, two things. One thing I would really love to do. Actually, three things, but one thing I would really love to do is have a boss fight with Doomsday in Metropolis. Yes. That would be just so cool. And even if it's sort of one of those things where it could end with that, and then it could lead into another game where it's a Justice League game and it's about them trying to bring him back. Similar to how the crappy movies are going. But, done better perhaps. And then the second thing is one thing they could do in terms of gameplay style is did you play the new God of War at all?
I haven't.
They could use a similar style where, while obviously there is the free roaming aspect and you can fly, the battles themselves are quite cinematic. So there's parts where you have to use the controllers usually, and then there's parts where it's quick time.
That's really good.
And that would be really, I think that's the best way to go with it. They could use God of War, especially the most recent one, which is very cinematic. Because that's what you'd have to do with Superman. Make his game very cinematic, because he is so powerful. And the other thing is, as well, in terms of a gameplay style for Superman, the thing they could start it off with, similar to what we've discussed, is with him being weak. He could start with no powers, and it's about him building his powers back up to the big final fight where he has all of his powers back, and he's ready to go for fighting either Darkseid, Brainiac, Doomsday, or Zod, or whoever.
And instead of skill points, he has Kryptonian cells.
Yeah,
it's not even a bad idea.
Yeah, it isn't. Yeah,
I kind of like that, where you can like spend Kryptonian cells on whether you have like.
Do you want to fly again, or do you want to
fly faster? Do you want to have thicker skin? Do you want to shoot thicker lasers?
Yeah, and I think also we were talking about the idea of other playable characters. I'd be interested in like a mission where you play as Lois Lane, and a similar sort of stealthing, and perhaps even better idea, because there's a more clear antagonist for her. It could be her breaking into LexCorp.
Yeah, I see that.
And sneaking around LexCorp without being detected and things like that. That could be really interesting to do. You could do perhaps a mission with Jimmy Olsen, or even like sort of small things where it's like, oh, he's got to go around and discover stuff. And you have that capacity to introduce interesting gameplay mechanics with other characters. That could be quite interesting. And you could introduce other characters like Steel. Or,
that would be cool.
Or Superboy, which they have powers, but they're nowhere near as strong, so you don't feel overpowered when you switch to them.
Yeah.
And that could be quite an interesting mechanic.
I'd like to play that.
Yeah.
Oh, now. But yeah, I feel like this is a good point to go over to our sponsor.
Yeah.
Today's sponsor, don't have one.
Yeah.
It's one of those days, unfortunately.
Where no one thinks we're good enough, which, to be fair, they do kind of have a point. We're not good enough.
They think that our viewer base is too small.
I don't know what they're talking about.
So instead, I will give out a genuine recommendation, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know of Nolan North and Troy Baker.
Yeah.
Pretty established and pretty amazing voice actors.
Yeah.
I found out like a week ago that they have a YouTube channel called Retro Replay, where they play old games from their childhood together.
That's okay. Cool.
And it's incredibly funny, because like sometimes they're not actually playing the game, but they're like talking about like all kinds of experiences they had, all kinds of anecdotes of like how their voice acting had some sort of impact on their life.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I recommend it. Check it out. And yeah, that's my recommendation instead of a sponsor. There you go. Something real this time.
And also, just trying to find out which video it's on. We also have our first comment.
We do. We finally have a comment on one of our videos. Very nice.
Yeah. The link he sent it. He gave us a link which led us to Everything Wrong with Gravity, and it was on the video about Star Wars fanboys and how they always complain and how they say the science of Star Wars doesn't make sense and us proving them wrong. And yeah, he's a friend of mine. Actually, I know him quite well. So thanks, Ellie. Shout out to you.
Yeah, I feel like there's a reason why he posted that particular link on that particular video.
Yeah.
We're just gonna take it as a message and say, no one's actually proven us wrong yet. So, you know, going
Sorry,
strong.
he might have just been proving them wrong. He might have been taking our side. I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't actually watched the videos because CinemaSins is a sack of shits.
I don't like CinemaSins. The guy, did you know the guy from CinemaSins? Sorry to go off topic. Did you know he now thinks of himself as a legitimate movie reviewer?
That's really bad.
You're not. You have a YouTube channel and you think that gives you the right to understand exactly how movies work. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Look, we both work in the film industry, and we'll be blunt. I don't give proper reviews of movies because it's not fucking easy to do. And more important,
it's also not our place.
Yeah, it's not our place. Like that's the thing. Like,
yeah, but you know what? If it is as easy to become a movie reviewer as just constantly shouting Ex Machina, then sure, let's be fucking movie reviewers and ruin films for everyone.
Yeah.
Actually, to counter that, because he loves to point out plot holes as well. I actually saw a video recently by Patrick Willems, who made a lot of really good short films and video essays. One of them being if Tommy Wiseau directed Batman. I'm sure you've seen that one.
Yeah.
So he actually made another video about why plot holes don't matter. And he said he did defend some films like Last Jedi and Dawn of Justice, to which I was like, well, you're trying to defend the indefensible, but I see your point. Where basically he said, with plot holes, if you're really paying attention to those plot holes, you're not actually watching the films. You're not actually paying attention to the story. You don't actually, because
you're trying to see the flaws as opposed to actually letting them come through naturally.
Yeah, because like if a plot hole is huge, like then, staring in the face, like impossibly bad, then yes, that's gonna ruin a movie. But if it's something small, like how did that person know about this when they weren't in the room? Who cares? It's about the characters.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the thing. We can obviously make this a topic for another day, but it's one of those things where the job of a movie reviewer isn't to point out the flaws of a movie, as the guy from CinemaSins probably thinks it is. The point of a movie reviewer is to assess the movie's quality, and then assess the actors and their performances. Assess basically because the guy goes, why is this person here? Why is that person there? Why are they doing this? It's like, that doesn't matter. You're assessing such minute details. What a movie reviewer does is assess the story as a whole, the performances as a whole, the cinematography as a whole, the editing as a whole. They assess it all as a whole, and then they give you their honest opinion of, the cinematography is lacking in this, but they do this really well. That's the point of a film critic, is to assess everything as a whole, not point out minute details, which then you put as, this is a negative point to it, whatever the CinemaSins guy does. That's not
also,
how you do it.
If you're a really good film critic, you'll actually give some insights that no one ever thought about.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing that no one seems to be doing that much anymore. Especially, the worst of all, YouTube reviewers.
Yeah. Because a quick little note to the guy from CinemaSins, if he is watching this, which I doubt, but anyone else wondering, a critic properly, when they critique something, they go, let's use an example. We'll use Gravity. Gravity is a film starring Sandra Bullock set in space about a satellite station that has debris hitting it and forces her to try and float her way back to Earth. You give a plot summary first of the film and how it goes. You have to inform people of this is what the film is about. You don't give away the ending, you don't do any of that, but you inform people of what the film is about, and then you inform people of the rest of it, and whether it's of any good, or whether it's worth watching. That's the point. You don't point out on a scoreboard or whatever of the things that they do wrong. That's not a film critic. Film critics don't point out what people do wrong. They point out the points in the film that need to be noted.
Yeah.
Moving on.
That said, subscribe and stay tuned for the day that we will review actual Star Wars short films and push them deep into the ground.
Yeah. And other, fuck it, we'll review other YouTube channels like CinemaSins.
Speaking of short films as well, and this might actually tie into our today's topic loosely. Have you seen the short film of Uncharted featuring Nathan Fillion?
Yes. Oh my god.
Honest opinion.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, I had problems with it at first.
Yeah.
Because basically, like, I feel like it worked really well, especially because Nathan Fillion fits the role so well.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the beginning there were some like writing issues, like it was kind of dragging, where there's like a huge amount of exposition. Then again, I can't fault it for that because it's a short film. You need to get as much information in there as possible. But that bit where the aspect ratio changed...
they also do that a lot in the games as well.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But like that bit where the aspect ratio changed and he like just goes in there and it looks like it's exactly in the game. Perfect.
Yeah.
Make it a feature.
Yeah, I think that's the thing because that's the thing.
Actually, again, I think about it as a feature. They said it themselves as well in an interview. As a feature, it might not work exactly that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they go on with that story, and they go on with this cast, which was a really good cast, mind you,
fits really well into it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think the thing is, with the reason why I was so excited when I saw it is because Nathan Fillion, he was Nathan Drake in that film. That's the thing.
His name is Nathan already.
Yeah, like he fitted the role so well, and the dialogue for me, while obviously it was very expositional and quite long at times, it worked. It was very much him.
Yeah,
it was very much Nathan Drake, and that's the part that got me excited. Watching it is like I am watching a scene from an Uncharted game. That's what I got. It's like watching. It's like this feels like Uncharted, as opposed to some of the stuff because I haven't watched the new Tomb Raider film. I'm going to have to at some point just to see how bad it is. But just from looking at it, it doesn't look like they adjusted to the idea of the current games, which was, oh, she's not a badass straight away. She turns into one through going through
necessity
shit
and survival,
and having to basically do it herself. And it looks like they kind of missed the point of that, because I think the 2013, I think it was, when the reboot started, that game for me, I loved it because it made her character not just interesting, it made such an amazing story. And I thought that's what I wanted them to go through with, the idea of, yes, she's shipwrecked on an island, but she's terrified.
Yeah, no,
and
exactly.
She's completely out of her element.
She should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, is that... And then when I saw the scene in the trailer for the movie where it's just her jumping instead of her slide, because the scene in the video game, obviously it goes, the ship breaks apart and she slides into the water, pissing herself.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or she's running to try and catch up to grab someone. She's running for someone who's trying to help her. As opposed to, oh, I'm such a badass, I'll just jump off the whole thing myself. It's like, that's just not interesting, though.
Of course, we're saying this without the context of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch it at some point, but just from what I could see, it didn't look like it was as good as the video game, which is a usual trend, but anyway.
But back to the actual topic of superhero video games. There's still, like, bits of mustache all over me. This was a horrible idea. Groot had a mustache. Damn it. That's a very adolescent Groot. Too bad he never got there in the movies, eh?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It
would be actually, just think about it now, I'd like to see a Guardians of the Galaxy video game.
I mean, other than the Telltale one,
other than the Telltale one.
Because I honestly don't like Telltale games altogether.
I don't mind games in that style. I think the Telltale style, though, I don't. And I don't think...
It doesn't work for everything, but they're trying to apply it to everything.
The problem is for me, it looks... I don't have a problem with the graphics in itself. I think for certain games, stylistically it works, but I think the problem for me, it feels very fanboy-like.
Yeah.
The game, I played a bit of the Game of Thrones one, and the whole time playing, it's like, this feels like a fanboy thing.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of the stuff with the Batman one. I was like, they got some elements right, but they got so much of it wrong, like the Joker. And I was like, this is a fanboy thing. And then with the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, I could already tell from watching a bit of it. Even the voice acting in the Guardians one, I was like, this feels like it was done by kids who wanted to make a short film about these because they like the characters. It's like, that's the problem with a lot of the stuff. When it feels like it's made by fanboys, then it's bad. Because to be quite blunt, fanboys usually don't set aside the fanboy to create a good, interesting story. And that is the major problem with a lot of them.
What I will say is a Guardians of the Galaxy game, I think, because that's actually kind of an aspect that I liked about Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, is that there was a lot of Guardians in it.
Yeah.
And the kind of mechanic that the Lego games have works really well for the Guardians. Obviously, it makes it too PG.
Yeah, obviously.
But especially like if there was like a Guardians like type thing that you could play online co-op with your friends.
Something like Evolve, in a sense, if you ever saw those games.
Yeah, I guess something like that.
But like that, bit more mission based and not open world, but definitely mission based instead of like, oh, it's a multiplayer PvP. It's PvE still. But
and it's not necessarily like going up against Thanos because that's unattainable. Like they wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
But something like that, like maybe. Maybe start where they started and then have Jason in there somehow and like the gold bitch something something like that. Just kind of build up to that. I'd play that. That sounds pretty cool. If they especially if they get the Milano like as a proper game mechanic in there, I'd really be interested to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Actually, I mean, what other superheroes might be good for video games at this point? Like,
honestly, I think
I'd like to see another Hulk one.
Hulk? Yeah, that could be good.
Like a proper one, like just a good old smash everything kind of game.
Yeah.
With an arcade mode to smash up as many things as possible.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, and especially if you could do an arcade mode where it's like they do DLC and it's PvP and they're like the current whatever Godzilla game it is, where it's like it's Godzilla versus whatever monster from his lore. It could be Hulk versus some other hero or villain. So it could, you could have Hulk versus Thor.
Hulk versus Thing. Make it something.
That would be cool.
That's a classic as well.
Hulk versus Thing, which has the most obvious answer ever, and who would actually win that fight? Let's be blunt.
Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah, Hulk. For some reason I think Thing has actually won once, and you kind of like.
Maybe.
Why?
Maybe.
Why is that possible? But
Fantastic Four game?
yeah. They did a few. I played one game that was a Fantastic Four game. It came out years ago. I think it was for Xbox.
Was it
Just the Xbox.
Was it any good?
It had elements that were interesting. I was too young, so when I played that, I had no idea what I was doing, so I never got very
Fair
far.
enough. So it was
but,
probably fun anyway.
yeah, it probably was. But I think there's definitely a lot of potential for stuff like that, especially when you introduce the idea of it could be a co-op element game. Because there's not how many superhero games actually have co-op elements to them?
Not all that many.
Not that many.
I mean,
Arkham Origins didn't have co-op; it had multiplayer, and it should have had co-op instead of multiplayer.
yeah, but there's kind of a co-op element to it because like if you're playing as Batman and Robin, you're basically working together.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. It should have been not multiplayer, but just straight co-op, where it's Batman and Robin, and it's similar to the sort of mission things, where it's like the arcade sort of style, and it's you having to go.
And there's skins you can pick from.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Why not?
Yeah. And then it'd be cool to if they did it with the Arkham Knight one, and then they had a roster you could pick. So it could be either Batman and Robin, or Robin and Batgirl, or Batgirl and Nightwing, or Batgirl and Catwoman. That would be interesting.
That would be really cool. Or like Nightwing and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Go nuts.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The only difficult thing about that is obviously that every character would have to have their own moveset.
Yeah.
And Robin's moveset in Origins is very heavily based on Batman's, which makes it slightly easier. But then again, there was a Joker mode in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, there was.
So they can kind of reuse that moveset again.
Yeah.
So something like that, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I think you were trying to say something about a Wonder Woman game, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think Wonder Woman would have the same sort of problems with sort of Batman. I mean, not Batman, Superman. Sort of, she'd be very powerful, but the advantage is she's not. She is a god, but she's not on the same level of godly as Superman.
Right.
And her villains typically are generally more powerful than she is.
True.
You have Ares, Cersei. Cheetah isn't as powerful as her, but Cheetah is definitely someone who gives her a run for her money
worthy
constantly.
adversary.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it'd be an interesting game to have. And the interesting thing I would like to see done in the style is perhaps if it was set on Themyscira and it were open world on Themyscira instead.
Yeah.
And then it could be something where Ares and Cersei have come to Themyscira together to plot to destroy the gods, and Cheetah has just sort of made her way there as well. And obviously, I think you'd want Steve Trevor to be there, someone she could talk to. And then it'd be really interesting because then you could have all these cool side missions about getting to know Themyscira as a whole. And it'd be quite interesting to see something done like that. And I think the thing is as well, because what I feel is, because they did it with Flashpoint, but they never really do it anywhere else. There's never enough Wonder Woman and Aquaman not being together, but just having interactions with one another.
Yeah, they kind of did it in the Justice League film, but it kind of fell flat because the Aquaman character was crap, so it didn't really come over.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing is that there's just such a great potential because they're both rulers in a sense, and I think they can easily relate to that sort of thing where they have greater responsibilities. The only person in the league who realistically doesn't have a greater responsibility, but he feels like he does as Superman, because he thinks he has to bear the weight of the world's shoulders on his own shoulder, which he does regardless. But they actually do have greater responsibilities than everyone else because they are rulers.
Yeah.
They have to worry about the safety of their own people as well as the world.
No, exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day because I was just kind of playing GTA 5 as one does, and I started thinking about the whole mechanic where you can like pick one of three characters. Mm-hmm. Would a Trinity game work with that?
I had wondered
potentially
about that. Yeah, I had wondered
where you can kind of like if you're on a mission with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, that you can just switch between them.
Yeah,
as you go along.
The gameplay style could be different for all of them. So for Batman, is he has to sneak through, and often enough. Yeah. Because also you could think about the sort of wittiness of it. It's like Superman and Wonder Woman, they're talking, and Wonder Woman goes, "All right, Batman, you go there. He's not there. What do you mean? I can't hear his heartbeat. He's gone off." It's like, because Superman would be like, "No, he's not there anymore." What? Oh yeah, he's not there. Yeah, he's done his thing. And then they sort of go on going, "Well, I guess we're the ones going through the front door, and he's going to find a sneaky entrance." And obviously, it leads into sort of once again the possibility of co-op. There'd be three people who could play as all
I'd
three.
like to see that.
Because then. And obviously, there'd be great boss fights with certain things like Darkseid where you couldn't just tank it. You'd have to think things through. You'd have Batman who would be looking around the environment, seeing if there's anything he can use. Wonder Woman who sort of, her job is to keep both Batman and Superman alive, and Superman is basically just taking on Darkseid and that sort of thing. And he's stalling him, essentially. And like, you have that capacity for it. I think a Trinity game would be perhaps, I think That's the thing. What I would like to see is they've done the Batman games, they do a Superman game, then a Wonder Woman game, and then they do a Trinity.
That would be.
They don't have to be in the same universe.
It probably wouldn't be possible.
No, it shouldn't be in the same universe. But to figure out the gameplay mechanics for each one as an individual, and then introduce that, because they've already got Batman, I think, pretty sound.
Yeah.
It's figuring out Wonder Woman, Superman now, and then introducing that into the next game.
And then obviously end it with a Dark Knight Returns like scenario.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants that.
Yeah, people want to go. I'm super. That would be. I think that
costs a total of £170 to meet Frank Miller at Comic-Con. Fuck my life.
God, though that would be. I think as we sort of talked about it, the idea of like Hulk versus Thor, or Superman versus Doomsday. But I think that's the thing is people in the end want to answer these questions. Obviously, though, the answer to them has already been answered, but I think people want their own answers. And I think a video game gives the potential easily for people to give them their own answers.
I mean, the only way to do it really is like, just your ordinary fighting game like Injustice or Marvel vs. Capcom or stuff like that, where you can kind of get an answer to that to an extent. Which, by the way, are two great games.
Yeah. Definitely.
Especially the most recent versions of them.
Oh, yeah.
Are excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I feel like if you obviously, I don't remember who it was that said this, but there was someone who once said that the answer to every question of who would win in a fight, the answer is whoever the writer decides wins.
Yeah.
So
always.
if you play out a scenario in your head where there's two people fighting and you want one of them to win, you'll make up a creative way that person will win.
Yeah.
Knowing fanboys, however, they'll find a very stupid way of making someone win.
Yeah.
Where, it's probably going to be like Superman coming up to Batman and Superman's like, I can crush you with my hands. And then Batman's like, but you won't because I'm Batman. And then Superman goes, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I give up. You're right.
Yeah.
Don't bully me.
Because then also the other thing is as well, it's like, therefore Batman wins. It's like, okay, so what, Batman's going to beat him to death? Yeah, Batman doesn't kill either. It's a two-way street. It's like, I could kill you in a second, but you won't. Fine, you could kill me pretty quickly as well. You got kryptonite? Yeah, but you won't. Shit! How did you figure it out, Clark? It's like, because I'm not a retard like your fans. Fine. Yeah. Like, this is a stalemate between the two. Because in the end, realistically though, the one who does win is Superman, because there are versions of him that will kill without hesitation, in Injustice.
Any version.
Yeah.
In the
Superman is the more likely one to do it.
In cases of necessity, Superman will kill.
Yeah, because I think we pointed this out to people. The difference between Superman and Batman is Batman's golden rules do not kill people. Superman's golden rule is save people no matter the cost. If he has to kill Zod to do it, he will do it.
Yeah.
It's a last resort for him, without doubt, but he will cross that line if necessary. Wonder Woman is a little more easygoing. She will cross that line if she feels like it's the quickest way of dealing with the problem.
She doesn't really have a line.
She doesn't have a line. I mean, she doesn't do it instantly. She'd rather find another way, but she's like, after a while, it's like, fuck it. I'll just kill this person. But I think it would be, because in the end as well, I think the Trinity game would lend itself to such great moments where the three could fight amongst themselves. And once again, I think in terms of the fights, they'd have to be God of War style, very cinematic with some quick time events, and you could pick. Actually, no, you wouldn't pick, because I think it would be cool if the story forced you to play as because let's say in the fight you really wanted to play as Batman, but it's like, no, Batman's been brainwashed, you have to play as Superman.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, so I have to play as the one guy I don't want to win? It's like, yeah, but that's not Batman you're fighting, it's a brainwashed version of him. So you want to get the Batman back.
No,
so play as Superman to get him back. I think that would be kind of cool to force players in that situation where you're playing as the least likely one in that scenario. Most people probably go as Batman, but it's like, no, because everyone wants to play as Batman all the time.
In any case, these are some pretty, in my opinion, pretty solid ideas for video games.
Yeah.
I hope they make them, especially a good Superman game would be welcome for me.
I think the last one I want to mention, because I think it has, these two actually together have very good merit, is Captain Marvel and Green Lantern.
Yeah.
I think the two of them, because their powers are very unique, they're not overpowered to a particular, they're very powerful, there's no doubting about that, but they're not overpowered. And their villains are always interesting. It leads themselves to a huge world. They've got the cores for Green Lantern, and for Captain Marvel, you've got a lot of the galaxy. I'm not entirely sure about all the interactions she has with people on the galactic level, but it's certainly an interesting concept, I think.
I'm voting Green Lantern VR game. I'd go with that.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a Batman one. Why not get a Green Lantern one?
Yeah.
So you can like use the controller as a paintbrush to make tools.
Here's actually one final
Yeah.
note. In terms, let's say the Trinity game. Let's use this one as the current example. In terms of the dialogue, would you want there to be at certain points dialogue choices between them?
I think yeah.
I think that would be kind of
I
interesting.
think it would be pretty cool because then you can still have like those scenarios where like it's basically a multiverse at that point. Then
Yeah, and I think also with especially I think the Superman game, and I think the Superman game lends itself best to having multiple options for an ending.
Yeah.
Where it's either he snaps and turns, or he's sort of in between, or he's still the good guy, and you get the dialogue choices throughout the whole game of who is he? Who is your Superman?
No, exactly. I mean, most people will try to be like the best version of Superman possible because
most of the fans will.
Because that's the one thing that I felt, for instance, with GTA is like when I got to the last mission, I decided to save 3 times before the cutscene happens, where you choose which one of the other characters you're to kill, and I played all of the endings. I've not previously done this in my life. I've only previously done the one where no one dies. So I played the other 2, and the thing is, those endings felt so incredibly unnatural and so anticlimactic in a way. And I feel like with the Superman game especially, that's probably one of the things that might happen, where you kill the last bad guy that's there, and then you become ruler of the earth or something, and then people will be like, nah. But that option should still be there because some people might like that.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think as well, because a lot of people love the Injustice version of Superman, but I constantly tell them that's not actually Superman, because Superman's a good person. That is, they need. I almost feel like they need to come up with another name for that version of Superman. I think Kal-El, I guess, is the best thing we've got at the moment.
I guess
he's more Kryptonian than that, but it could be something where it's like one ending is you kill Luthor and everyone's happy, and then afterwards you turn, it's like, no, he's human, you're all to blame for all the world's problems, I'm taking control. And then it could be a scene of you just lowering yourself into the White House, and it could be even a gameplay thing where it's just you're going through, you don't have to kill everyone, but basically just beating everyone out of the way, then you storm into the White House, the Oval Office, going, I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting to do.
Get on that Rocksteady.
Yeah, and then obviously there are other options where it's like, no, he chooses to imprison someone in the Phantom Zone, so he's not entirely good because that's really far to go. Still, you're imprisoning someone in an inescapable prison, but he's still not entirely evil. And there's obvious one where it's like, he's about to kill, and it's like, no, I want him. And then it's like, they put him on Stryker's Island, and then obviously there's the scene with Lois, and it could be all lovey-dovey and happily ever after.
That's what we want.
Actually,
all right.
One final note about the Superman game. It'd be
so many final notes.
I know. Sorry, this is the last one, I swear. It'd be interesting if you could have the choice to tell Lois your secret identity.
Yeah.
That would be fucking cool.
And then multiple instances to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that would be pretty fucking realistic.
That would be really cool. And it gives that's the thing. I think Superman games, you need to give the players choice.
Yeah, I'd go for that. I feel like I'd go for a game that allows you to do that.
Yeah. Well, Rocksteady, you know what people want. Well, you know what 2 people want.
And on that note, we thank you for listening once more to our
one final note.
One final note. Goodbye.
Yes, there we go.
Cool. Tune in next week. Thank you. Unique New York. This joke was good in concept. I wasted £4 on this mustache. Fuck it. May as well wear it, we're fired.
Welcome to Dawn Discussion.
I am not Ron Burgundy, unfortunately. My name's Ron. Previously.
My name is Kai. And, this is Channel 4 News.
This is Channel 4 News.
With your host, not Ron Burgundy, and I guess an amalgamation of the other 3 guys.
Yeah, this joke worked the other 40% of the time every time.
It's 60%.
I know. 60% of the time it does work. Every time.
It works 60% of the time. All the time.
Ah.
That statistically doesn't make sense. But anyway, all right.